This video will be about Skerries, Ireland. If you're watching this video on Facebook, you can share it. What will help me most is subscribing to my YouTube channel. Skerries is located in the northern part of the old Dublin County. The population of Skerries is just around 10,000 people. Skerries is known for being a coastal village. There are 5 nearby islands off the coast. It is known as the place where St. Patrick landed in 432. The Vikings came in 797. In 1496, King Henry VII granted permission to build a pier. In 1605, the harbor was described as being in ruins. In 1721, the Hamilton family purchased the town. They invested in the town. In 1766, they enlarged both the harbor and the pier. In 1784, the fishing industry was at its peak. In 1877, control of the harbor was passed to the Dublin Port and Docks Board. In 1884, Skerries was a location for imports and exports. There was over 285 vessels who loaded and unloaded in Skerries. Limestone was the biggest export. Limestone was exported all the way up until 1942. And the last big renovation with the harbor occurred in 1968. That is when they built an extension which was 180 feet by 30 feet to the existing pier. Right next to the harbor is Red Island. It was once called Key Island. And as recently as the 17th century, it was called Haven Island. In a 1703 map, this island was attached to the mainland by a sandbar. By 1760, the map had it actually adjoined to the mainland. And in 1821, you can see the road that drives right onto Red Island. The name Red Island is thought to have come in 2 different ways. One, there was an industry of dyeing sails. The sails would be laid out on the rock, and when they were picked up, the rock would have a reddish tint. The second theory was around the fishing industry. The fishermen would lay their nets out on the island, and again, a red color was left behind. Red Island has one of the Martello Towers, which was built in 1804. After its original use as a military defense against the French, it has been used as a private residence, as a tea room, and for many years as part of a holiday camp. It hasn't been used since the 1980s. Skerries Island is the largest of the islands off the coast. You can walk there at low tide. The second Martello Tower is on this island. It was also built around 1805. The military disarmed it in 1874. One of the best parts about this location, this tower can be seen by many other towers in the northern Dublin County area. This island caused some controversy in the late 1800s. The seaweed around this island was a great fertilizer for crops in the Rush area. There was a long dispute between the farmers of Rush and the landlord of Skerries. The Rush farmers thought the seaweed was free. The landlord thought that because it was part of the shoreline, he had ownership to it and he could charge for the seaweed. He ended up winning and charging the farmers until 1946 for the seaweed. In 1917, the island was used for farming, and this happened all the way up to the 1950s. In 1987, the island was designated as a wildlife reserve. Patrick Graveyard. This dates from the 16th century. The older gravestones in this graveyard date between the 16th and 19th centuries. When you enter the graveyard, on the right-hand side there's a map which shows you some more of the unique gravestones that you can find. There is a bell tower that's believed to have been built around 1790 from a church that was removed in 1891. Before this was a graveyard, there was a church and a priory here. Patrick Church, which is right next to the graveyard, was built in 1867. This replaced the old church, which was located where the graveyard is. The new church was built using Milverton limestone. One of the tourist areas in town is Skerries Mills. There are 3 different mills here. There's a water mill, a 4-sail windmill, and a 5-sail windmill. The milling existed here in the 16th century up until the early 20th century. The water mill was good, except for times of drought. The 4-sail windmill, which is the smaller one, it's about 40 feet tall. It's also built on the highest point of town. It was first mentioned in a 1578 lease. The second windmill, which is called the Great Windmill, originally was built in the early 18th century. When it was first built, it had 4 sails, but following a 1844 fire, it was renovated into a 5-sail windmill. 5 sails were more efficient than 4 sails. Skerries has a railway station, which is located on the Dublin to Drogheda line, and it was opened in 1844. There's a Carnegie Library in Skerries. It was built in 1910. It opened May 8th, 1911. The original design of this building was intended to be built in Malahide. The clock was not installed until 2011. This was due to no funding for the clock in 1911. Next to the Carnegie Library is St. Patrick's Church. This is a Catholic church. It was built in 1935 and opened in 1939. It replaced on the same location an earlier church that was built in 1823. The belfry in the back of the church was retained from the original church and was originally built in 1884. St. Patrick's School opened in 1913. It was for both boys and girls. This was used until 1973 for the boys and until 1978 for the girls. Today it's part of the community center. Skerries is a wonderful coastal village with a beach, with a harbor, a lot of public parks that can be used. It is definitely worth a visit. I hope you enjoyed my video. Please hit the like button and please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.